Hello, I'm James,
Hi, I'm Jimmy,
and welcome to A Job Done Well.
the podcast that helps you improve your performance and enjoyment at work.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, James.
What are we talking about today then?
Today, we are going to help people have better and easier interactions with difficult people.
Okay, is this code for how to talk to people without losing your shit? Is that what you're telling me?
Exactly. You know the ones, James. You're in a meeting, you've just done a fantastic presentation, everyone around the room is nodding and smiling, and then that one person says, yes, I agree, but, and immediately you get the rush of blood. So we all work with difficult people. They don't listen, they're opinionated, the bullies. The one thing they have in common, they're not easy or enjoyable to work with. But by the end of the day, we will help people be able to work with them more productively.
Are we going to list any of these people today or not?
Well, it'll be like looking in the mirror, I think.
All right, something to look forward to there. Go on then. So before we get to that, what's been going on in your life?
Well, James, I've just been experiencing that age-old saying, and it's just so true. It's the hope that kills you. As a Nottingham Forest fan, we have played, in the first 3 games, we have played the best football I've seen them play and the worst football I've seen them play. The problem is, my expectation now is they're up here. You know, they've been in the Premier League, they got into Europe, they've spent £200 million on players. They are going to be fantastic. And at the weekend, they were awful. And it genuinely is the hope that kills you. If I wasn't expecting them to win, it'd be all right when they were shit. But I was expecting something and I was so disappointed afterwards. Football's a horrible game.
I've got a question about this.
Go on then.
Well, do you think I give a damn?
No, I don't. I am just expressing my envy for the fact that hope, it never impacts you. You don't care.
Yeah, I don't. We need a listener poll. How many people care how Nottingham Forest are doing?
Well, they might not care about Nottingham Forest, but I'm telling you, the majority of people care about some form of football or sport, James. That you don't like any of.
I'll tell you. Yeah,
Anyhow.
synchronized swimming. That's my favourite sport.
Swimming.
Synchronized swimming. It's got to love it when they hold their noses and disappear into the water with their legs up. I think it must be a bit kinky.
Oh, there's just a plethora of insults and piss taking opening. I want to stop there. You tell me what you've been up to then.
Well, it's been a very big week in the Lawther household. My eldest daughter has left.
She's flown the nest.
Yeah, she's flown the nest. She's got a job down in the smoke in London and she's gone. I put her on the train yesterday and she is not ever coming back. It's not like when she goes to university and she's going to come back. She has gone and she's got no intention of ever coming back.
Well, she's not going to visit you.
Well, probably not. No, you have looking on me, yeah. No, of course she'll come back, but I suppose it's just a bit odd, isn't it? It's a bit
final, isn't it?
It's 20 odd years with this child and then all of a sudden they go. And
she's not a child anymore though, mate.
Not a child anymore, so it's a bit strange. But there you go, that's what's happened in the Lawther household this week.
Big week.
Yeah. Anyway, go on then. So talk to me. Difficult people. Why am I worried about this then? Why should anybody listen to this podcast?
I think the thing is, difficult people are not rare. You know, it's that we all work with them. And even if I think back to my most favourite job in my most favourite organisation, when I was enjoying it the most, I still found there were difficult people around.
Yeah. There's always one or two.
Workplace conflict is one of the top 5 stressors that people say, impact their performance and enjoyment at work. So
is that a Jimmy fact, or have we got that from somewhere reliable?
James, stop worrying about where we got facts from. That is actually a real fact. It's something I've made up.
This is like a Trump podcast. We don't care about truths and facts.
Jay, if I was doing a Trump fact, it would be rather more out.
You'd go more, would you? Yeah, okay, go on. Yeah.
I'd turn around and say, workplace conflict, every single person has it as the number one thing that impacts their lives. That's more Trump, right?
Right. Anyway, it's a top 5 stressor.
And it impacts your performance, your well-being, how long you stay in a job, your time, it takes your headspace, your energy. So one important thing we're going to talk about here is not how you change difficult people, because
You can.
you can't. And so what we're going to talk about is not changing their behavior, but we're going to focus on how you can change your behavior and your responses.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I was once told you can't change anybody else, you can only change yourself. And I think that's quite a useful frame of reference.
Yes. Another stat for you, James.
Another Jimmy fact. Go on.
Another Jimmy fact. 38% of UK employees say conflict is a regular part of their work life. So, and that isn't actually a Jimmy fact. That was a CIPD fact.
Really?
So,
Okay.
but it is a regular thing. You can't avoid it.
38% if it's regular, that's a big deal, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, it's something to be dealt with, really, actually, isn't it? Big productivity problem.
Yes.
So go on then, talk to me about difficult people. What type of difficult people have you come across?
Oh God, there's all sorts. And this is slightly tongue in cheek, James, but you get people like the people that I've experienced, and we will, should we be diplomatic and not mention names, but
I think it's best because
there will be people, guarantee you, listening to this podcast who we would categorize as difficult people. Equally, I guarantee you there will be people listening to this podcast who would say that you and I were difficult people to work with.
No, it's hard to believe.
And no, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Anyhow, you get people who you get these people that are like bulldozers. They're loud, they're domineering, they're dismissive, they just ignore everything you're saying.
Don't let you get a word in edgewise.
Sorry?
They don't let you get a word in edgewise.
Edgewise?
Edgewise. Well, it's edgewise with me, isn't it? Be edgeways with you.
It's edgewise.
No,
that leads us to the second
Yeah.
one, James. The sniper. The person who sits on the sidelines and just makes little softy comments. Does that one?
I've never done that.
Never. Edgewise, indeed.
Yeah.
So we probably covered a little bit of you and I in the first couple. The next one I think is the victim, the person who's always hard done by. It's never their fault.
Never takes responsibility for everything. Always deflecting stuff. Hard done by. Yeah, I know the type.
And the next one I think is the ghost. People just avoid everything. You can never pin them down. You can never get them on the hook for anything.
Yeah, no, you always seem to avoid getting a bollocking for not doing anything.
Yeah, never get in trouble. These people often, they spend lots of time, some of them manage their bosses so well, and you get that one that always gets me is, we all think they're a knob, but the bosses love them. Right. It's because they've been focusing upwards, and they ghost you.
Yeah.
What about you, James?
How about the gossip?
Oh, yeah.
Somebody just spreads rumor, creates drama, shares confidential information, the whole 9 yards, undermines trust, that type of person.
Do you know, James, there was one point early in my career when I was working in betting shops, my nickname was Mr. Gossip.
I find that very hard to believe.
Why
did they call you that?
I can't imagine, but
Not
I may have been guilty of some of this stuff.
Yeah. All right, I've got another one. You have it. The controller micromanager needs to have a hand on everything, overly critical and often nitpicks. Do you see any of yourself in that one or not?
Oh, no, I could be guilty of some things, but micromanager, I'd definitely nitpick, but that would imply I had to get into the detail, which is
never my strength. Yeah, all right. Another one I'm a bit guilty of, the cynic. So that person you constantly focuses on problems. It will never work. Shoots down your ideas, dampening enthusiasm. Do you know the sort of person who says, yeah, we tried that 30 years ago and it didn't work then? That's why I left work. I turned into that man. I had tried it 30 years ago and it didn't work then. So
the old wasn't invented here syndrome.
Yeah, that's a good one.
In fairness, I am one of the organisations we worked together in. I left because I felt that people thought I was a cynic. And at that point, I thought, actually, I don't want to be that. I actually don't want to be that person.
Time to go.
Yeah.
Drama queen. Get the across drama queen. Just lots of emotional outbursts. unpredictable.
James, I've never done that in my
Very
life.
dirty. It's like it's scripted, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the one which I just gets my care absolutely. Yeah, the passive aggressive type.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just I don't really know how to describe it, but they're never overtly in your face, but it's just this stream of negativity does my head in.
I don't know if I've ever told you a story. I won't mention the person's name, but there was somebody who we worked with who always said to you what was wrong with something. You know, if you said, this is what we can do, they always said, it won't work because of X, Y, Z. They're always on the negative. I confronted them about it at one point and said, you just come across as being a very negative person because you're always pointing out all the reasons why everyone else's ideas won't work. You know what they said? They turned around and said, it's because I'm trying to help you, because I'm so much faster than everyone else and I can see all the things before you can. So I figure it's my duty to be helpful and share that with you.
Well, there you go. Did you enjoy the feedback or not?
Yeah, I nearly put their lights out.
As well as recording this podcast, we help individuals, teams, and entire organisations achieve outstanding results.
If you'd like to find out more about how we can help you, please get in touch. Email either jimmy@ajobdonewell.com or james@ajobdonewell.com. Go on then, give me some of your experience then, dealing with difficult people, what you had to put up with.
Oh God, too many to name, James. Some of them are listening in today, I'm sure. But I think an interesting point is sometimes I think the ones that I find more difficult won't necessarily be the ones that people you find more difficult. So that last one you talked about, passive aggressive, that I find difficult because I hate hypocrisy. So there you've got somebody who is saying one thing and they mean something else. So that I react to. I find that sort of person really difficult to deal with, but you might not. So I think one thing to consider is how you react to other people can be a reflection of their behavior, but equally it can be a reflection of your experience, your values and stuff like that. And I think the other point which people should reflect on when we're going through this is, I'm sure there are a number of people throughout my career that find me difficult. And it's understanding if you show up as being a difficult person for others, why do you show up as being difficult? I remember when we were at Cat 1 together, some of the teams that were supporting us in sales, I remember them talking to me and they said that I was a very demanding customer. And they had actually understood that when I said I wanted X, I didn't actually know I wanted X. I was just saying it out loud and it was just my initial thoughts, but I said it really confidently. And they learned that about me. And then when they explained it to me, I learned that about me as well. So I realized that I was sounding too definitive about my request and I wasn't always right. So sometimes giving people that feedback can help them learn about why they're difficult as well. So what about you?
Yeah, I totally get that. I mean, on a personal basis, we jested earlier on, but I can be just a prize sniper and cynic. I can. And my reasons for doing that is I hear people talking about things which I honestly don't believe will work. And I honestly think they're a waste of time. And that is almost my go-to position. And my rationale for doing it actually is just because I don't want to do it and I want us to move on with something more productive. However, it's really not helpful. And when it's with people I've worked with for a long time and they know me, they're quite happy to slap back. And as you rightly say, that puts you back on the right foot and put you in a better frame of mind. But it's never really helped me being a sniper or a cynic. It has given me some sort of black humorous moments, but it doesn't really take me anywhere. So I think there's that point there, which is if you find yourself being that person, don't be that person because it didn't help you.
Do you remember when we were part of the same team and we used to ask people to come in and present to us and we wanted their ideas and we wanted to really support their ideas. And then some of them told us that we were very intimidating to come and present to because we were sniping and throwing stuff around and they didn't know us that well. So I think that's another point is, sometimes in groups you can become difficult even though you don't intend. We didn't intend to be difficult, but it's just how we showed up. And then when they turned around and told us that, we did try and change our behavior.
Mortified.
Yeah, genuine.
Yeah. So don't be that person is my first thing.
Yeah.
The other thing now is there was one guy who was just a bulldozer, the word for him. He was like a Sherman tank. And the bloke was just unbelievable to the point where I just removed myself from the situation. I got out of his way. He was somebody you just could not deal with. It was an absolute bully and a self-opinionated clown. But that was the way I dealt with it. But I think the interesting point is usually these behaviours are about insecurity. They want something and they don't know how to get it. So I suppose really that takes us to, if you're confronted with somebody like this, then go on, you're Mr. Politics. How should I not see a red mist? What should I do to stay grounded?
Well, I think there's a few things that you can do, James. I think the first point is remember you can control yourself. You can't control them. So it is about thinking about the things that you can do. Sometimes it is about not taking things personally as well. So to your point, it's driven out of their insecurity. But I think one of the things that I learned was, how do you understand what it is that triggers you? So what are the situations, who are the people that really get you, and build that understanding of what the triggers are. So then when they say something that is going to trigger you, take a pause. It's the old classic count to 10 before you respond. You don't actually have to count to 10, literally. You can do whatever you like. You can say stumping your head. You can take a deep breath, whatever it is. But
repeat, you are a twat, you are a twat 10 times.
if you want to say that 3 times in your head, just create that space. Don't care what you do, but create a space between the trigger that you've now understood and your response. Because when you then respond, you can respond intentionally how you want to respond, as opposed to just responding emotionally. And that is so much easier for you to not be triggered by them.
Well, there's an interesting point there, though, when you say understand the trigger. So as I said, my daughter's just left, but I found myself, we were arguing. I was arguing with my daughter. And, it doesn't put you in a good position when you're arguing with your 20-odd-year-old daughter. But I came to the conclusion that the trigger was actually she was going. And, I spent 20 years looking after this child.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I was no longer needed. But once I'd understood that was the trigger for me and I was responding badly to it, then I was able to calm down some of my worst behaviours.
Yeah.
But it is understanding the trigger is really very important. So I totally agree with that. So take time to think what the trigger is.
And once you've created that space and you're going to respond, just don't take the bait. Quite often, difficult people elicit certain responses. They're not always positive responses. Don't react in the way that either they want you to, or the way that you instinctively feel that you've got to do it. So
now, hang on, I am going to name names.
Okay, go.
And I know he listens. Bloody Rich. So our mate, I use the word mate very, broadest term. Our mate Rich, we go drinking with Rich. And I am, as you probably know, I'm a bit of a champagne sensualist. And we were out and we had a couple of pints and he just started pushing my hot buttons. And of course I could help myself. I'm about 3 pints in. So all of a sudden, I'm biting. And every time I bit, he threw another one in.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there. It was like he was fishing. He was loving every minute of it.
It was like watching a cat just toying with a mouse, just playing with you. Every time you settle down, it'd say something else. You just took the bait every time.
Yeah. So what I need to do is stop and say, you are a twat in my head 3 times. And then I'll be better.
And then respond. But then
I'd probably not have 3 pints when you're dealing with these people either.
Yeah. But also,
don't take the bait.
Don't take the bait, but respond in a productive way. So if somebody, to your point earlier, is a bulldozer, trying to fight a bulldozer with strength isn't the answer. Trying to fight a sniper with a cheap shot back isn't the answer. Find ways of nullifying their impact. It's that classic old cliche. Wasn't it Obama said, when they go low, we go high, and all that sort of stuff? Just don't behave the way they are.
Yeah.
The next thing I'd think about is also
interesting, that one. So it's not don't behave the way they are. It's maybe don't behave the way they expect.
Good point.
Because very interesting. If you look at what's going on in the States at the moment, the whole Gavin Newsom thing with his trolling Trump with his tweets. Right, so he's responding exactly the same way.
Yeah.
But it's definitely having an impact. Whether or not it's a good impact will remain to be seen. But there's a classic case of dealing with a different person. All right. So don't take the bait.
Yeah. And then
Rick,
I think
next time I'm not taking the bait.
don't take the bait and set some boundaries, James.
Oh, go on then. What's that then?
Well, I think sometimes either set the boundaries with the person, which often means you have to call out their behaviour and explain to them, James, I don't want to talk politics with you because you and I are going to disagree. So, set some boundaries. Or in some instances, sometimes the boundaries you have to set are internal. In other words, I'm just going to avoid the situations with that person where they are getting under my skin, where they're taking my energy. And so set some boundaries either internally or externally with that person.
Yeah. All right. So I've understood the trigger. I'm not taking the bait. I've set some boundaries. Anything else?
Well, I think also sometimes when it's a relationship you're with the person quite a bit, think a bit more deeply about the reason for their behavior. So you're just thinking they're a bully or whatever. But sometimes if you think, to your point, a lot of the behavior is driven by insecurity. And if you just try and think more deeply and try and get some understanding about what's behind the behavior, is it fear? Is it insecurity? What else could be true about the situation that they're seeing that you're not? I think that deepening that thought might change your mindset about people, and so that also helps.
And that's a bit like one of those 7 habits, isn't it? Seek first to understand and then be understood. But the very fact you do that, it's like giving yourself extra options, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're creating options for yourself. So I think that's really very, very important.
It also helps a lot of the situations to depersonalize it. If I understand you're trying to bulldoze me every time we have a conversation, I understand that you've got some insecurities behind it. It depersonalizes it from being about me. So you're not just trying to make it personal to me, but also then, as you say, it opens options. If you follow some of the advice we've given, you do so with the maximum number of options that you can have, as opposed to, I'm just going to react to them and they're in control of my reaction. And you're almost like a puppet on a string, aren't you, in those situations? What we're talking about here is cut the strings, choose your behaviors. The show you're listening to right now brings you insights to help you improve performance and enjoyment of work.
It takes a long time to produce, but we think it's well worth it. It's all in the name of helping you getting the job done well.
All we ask in return is that you share the link to this show with someone that you think would benefit from it. And if you haven't already, click on follow the show wherever you listen to this podcast right now. Anyway, let's get back to the show.
So that's all very well, but if it's an ongoing problem, and this person is constantly hard work, how would you go about dealing with that?
So the way I would think about it, James, is if you know it's going to be a systemic problem and it's long and it's ongoing, I'd start to document my key interactions with that person. And because I think that gives you a little bit more evidence of what's actually happening. It makes you think about it a little bit more. And when you think about it, you'll generate some more options. The second thing I'd do is I'd build some allies and get some perspective from others, talking to other people about their experience of this person. So is it something that relates just to you? In which case you can think about how you deal with it. Sometimes you do need to be quite assertive with somebody about the impact they're having on you. So if they are continually doing this, you do need to really talk to them about it. If you don't let them know, as we said about the people who used to come into our team and found us intimidating, we were mortified when we found that out, weren't we? And so I think sometimes you have to call out the behaviours, particularly say if it's a long ongoing thing, it's not just a one-off. Then
so if it's, but by assertive, you mean actually sit down and have a step conversation. Then when you do this is what it means.
This is the impact on me.
Yeah.
So help them, let them know, because they may not understand the impact they're having.
Yeah. And as you ran said, we were mortified when we got that feedback. Yeah.
And remember your boundaries. You've got to protect your energy. You've got to protect your well-being. So set yourself some boundaries. And that may mean times you have to choose where you're working, how you're working, the teams you're in and stuff like that. And that's not easy and that can take a while. but sometimes that is important to have some boundaries in your life.
Give me an example then, man. What should I get that one?
So there have been times when I've done all these things to try and improve situations.
Yeah.
And actually I found it easier to go and work in a different team, go and work in different projects, maybe even change roles altogether.
Okay.
Just because you've got to get yourself out of that, because you've got to look after your energy, your life, your well-being.
Yeah. No,
But-
totally go.
But to be honest, before you're doing that, one of the things I'd consider doing is escalating. So if you are having a systemic problem and you know that this person continues to do this to you and to others, and you've tried some of these things, then you should be escalating and getting some help.
Yeah, okay. And actually, if you're going to escalate it, documenting things and building
That helps.
allies and actually being able to say, I have sat down with this person, all of these things help. Yeah, got it.
Because you don't want to just escalate. James and I have had an argument, therefore I'm going to escalate to our boss. But if I'm going back and saying, look, I've written down, here's the evidence I've got, the problem I'm having, here's what I've done to try and resolve that, can you help? That's a much more powerful way of dealing with it.
So let me just summarize that then. So I've got it straight in my head. Number one, document the interactions. Yeah, write it down, give yourself a bit of thinking time. Number two, build some allies. Either they will help you or they'll give you a bit of the cold, hard truth, which maybe might be helpful to you.
Yeah.
Hard to do, but actually taking somebody aside and say, when you do this, this is the impact you have on us or me. Yeah, it's actually a very positive thing to do. Be clear about your boundaries. If you have to withdraw from the situation, withdraw from the situation. Yeah, because actually you're probably better off out of it than in it.
Yeah.
And then finally, you can escalate, but probably better to escalate after you've done those other things.
Yeah.
Lovely. I suppose the key thing is you've always got a choice, haven't you? But another thing you said in one of the earlier podcasts is nothing lasts forever. Yeah.
No.
You might be working with a right clown, but you won't be. Clown might be your boss. But, bosses come and bosses go. Yeah,
And
none of
they
this is
do.
forever.
And also, people go through different phases in their life. You don't know what's happening for people outside of work. They might be going through a difficult time, which is why they're acting out at work. So situations do pass.
So go on then. Any final thoughts on that?
Well, hopefully, we've given people some advice that difficult people, you're always going to face them. It is a little bit of a personal thing, as in, I find different people difficult than you will.
Yeah.
It's often not personal. It's not about you. And we've shared some of the things that you can do to deal with situations in the moment, or if they are ongoing situations.
Lovely. And I think the thing for me is always seek first to understand. So try and understand what is driving their behavior, because that just gives you room to maneuver.
Yeah. And you'll be pleased to know, James, we have got some follow-ups later in season 3 on this, which will also help, where Amanda's going to join us and talk about specifically how you have those difficult conversations that we touched on. And we've got somebody who's going to come and talk to us about how you use conflict to have positive outcomes. So more to come.
Well, I hope you found that interesting conversation. If it's been useful, please do like and subscribe, because it helps us move the podcast on. And I shall speak to you next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers now.
We cover a whole host of topics on this podcast,
From purpose to corporate jargon.
but always focused on one thing: getting the job done well.
Easier said than done. So, if you've got unhappy customers or employees, bosses or regulators breathing down your neck,
If your backlogs are out of control and your costs are spiraling, and that big IT transformation project that you've been promised just keeps failing to deliver,
we can help. If you need to improve your performance, your team's performance, or your organisation's, get in touch at jimmy@ajobdonewell.com.
or James@jobdonewell.com.